Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. Welcome to the reaction for Ruben Amorim's presser. We're going to talk about Jason Wilcox taking over Dan Ashworth's role as well as the sporting director. That's some news that we've had coming in the last couple of hours. We've had a development on Marcus Rashford's future as well in terms of what price we may be looking for. And a Diego Leon update, the wing-back from Paraguay, who very, very close to signing, which has kind of come out of the blue in the past couple of days. But I definitely want to get Sam's opinion on that. So, yeah, before we do, Sam, how are we?
Yeah, United have not played for a whole, 4 days, 3 days? So my life's pretty good at the minute. I'm sure they'll ruin that tomorrow. But,
I was about to say, you still got time yet, mate.
Yeah.
Now, Ruben Amorim has been speaking ahead of the game you was just alluding to there, and naturally he got asked about Dan Ashworth and the situation at the minute. He's saying one person leaving doesn't change anything. Since the first day, I felt great support from the ownership, from Omar and from Jason, and I was a part of them. I felt real support from Dan also. This is football, and sometimes these things happen. Of course, it's a bad situation. Like I said, we're talking about a human being, a professional that supports us as a team. But I think the most important thing is the vision is really clear, and that don't change if one person leaves. Do you think United has surprised him already, Sam? Because managers, as you've seen before and afters, they look rather stressed, don't they, when they leave? So do you think he's already surprised with how it's gone so far?
I'm sure when he was offered the job, I'm sure he was like, there's going to be some stuff I'm going to have to dig in and do, like an overhaul. He probably didn't realize the scale of it until he actually got here. And now he's actually here. He's realized the actual scale of the job that he's got. And he's probably thinking, this is a lot bigger than I expected it to be. So, yeah, he's probably sort of rethinking a lot of stuff, or adjusting timelines of where he could be within 6 months, a year, whatever. So, but he's probably still confident in himself. We know all managers have got an ego, and they will back themselves to the end. Ten Hag did. He was continuously saying that it'll come good, it'll happen, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure Amorim will say the same. So early days in his process, so I wouldn't sort of worry too much yet. Obviously, if we're here in 3 seasons and he's still talking about process and all this, and we're not gained any further, then obviously that's a problem.
I thought the last 2 lines of that specifically was interesting. That it says, I think the most important thing is the vision is really clear, and that doesn't change if one person leaves. That suggests to me, you can only take so much from one quote, but the vision is really clear. Everyone is aligned on one thing. So Wilcox, Omar, Amorim, they have one way of seeing the game and one way that they want to go. And maybe Dan Ashworth obviously wanted to, go with a different system. And I think this is where kind of the big clash came. And obviously a lot of it was down to the manager as well. So it started to little pieces coming together now to understand the story, what's kind of gone on.
Yeah, there was The Athletic, and they were saying Ashworth was a big part of keeping Ten Hag and keeping faith in him. Obviously, Sir Jim Radcliffe wanted to sack him. They obviously approached Amorim in that summertime, and he said no, I believe, or there was some money issues with release clauses or what have you. So they ended up sticking with him and offering that 1-year extension. And then I think when they were thinking about replacing Ten Hag with different managers, I think Ash was suggesting Premier League experience, wasn't he? Eddie Howe's name came up. Thomas Frank's name came up. There was another Graham Potter. Was that another name that he put
I think
in
so. It felt very Brexity.
Yeah,
the kind of options that he was going with.
So obviously Jim Radcliffe and Barada and Wilcox obviously wanted to go in a different direction, because when we saw the Amorim sort of pursuit, it was all Omar Barada, wasn't it? He was the one flying out, meeting him, speaking to him. He had the contacts at Sporting. I think Radcliffe met him before the Fenerbahce game. So it all seemed to be led by them, and Ashworth wasn't really mentioned at any point. And Ashworth released a statement when they extended Ten Hag's contract, but they didn't release a statement when Amorim joined. There's no photos of him with him or anything like that, apart from at the training ground, which is sort of maybe a little bit telling in hindsight, isn't it?
When you look at his record, Ashworth, he's getting less and less the more clubs he goes to. So West Brom, a couple of years, Brighton, 1.5 years, I think it was, before Newcastle stepped in. Newcastle for a year, United for 5 months. He seems to be getting down and down. So he just, in regards to Ashworth, I think he just needs to find a club that's tailor made for him, because it's all good and well doing a great job at West Brom, at Newcastle, at Brighton, these kind of clubs. But as we know, United's just a different kettle of fish. And obviously he didn't have enough time either to kind of prove what he's at. Because what he's brought in is for the women's team, is for the academy, it's for all these things kind of joined together to improve it. And you ain't going to get that within 5 months, are you?
No, and I think obviously his vision of Manchester United was very different to whatever Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and Sir Jim, Dave, and all that. They obviously had a certain vision, and his just differed from it. And that happens when you have a sort of like senior leadership team. A lot of the time, you have to sort of all be aligned on the same sort of idea, and clearly he wasn't. And then there was the thing, wasn't there? There was too many people there anyway. They thought there was too many cooks spoiling the broth, basically. So eventually, maybe something had to give, and Ashworth seems to be the one that's on the way out.
Have you ever seen the interview with Kanye West saying Lady Gaga is the something manager of Kodak or Polaroid or something, and he goes, "I like Lady Gaga, but what the fuck does she know about fucking pictures?" You know what I mean? And I thought that with Brailsford straight away when they got rid of Ashworth. I was like, I don't mind it. I like Dave Brailsford, but what the fuck is it like with football? I'm not utterly convinced with him. That's the one thing with me where I'm like,
you've got like obviously. I read Christopher Vivell. He's going to step up. He's got some experience in football, Leipzig, Chelsea. So he's got experience of doing that. Wilcox is obviously fulfilling the role. So they've got football experienced people in those roles. So hopefully January, if there is any business to be doing, which we'll get onto later with the Paraguayan kid, hopefully they're in a good position to sort of complete these deals.
We'll get into Wilcox in a minute as well, because obviously that's another update that we've not touched on yet. But just back to the press conference, Amorim's talking about he's really focused on his players, to understand his players. I think that was one of the problems of the club. We have to focus on what we have, focus on the academy, and have the clear profile when you sign players. It's a lot of details you have to manage. This is a massive club. If you don't win, the coach goes, the players go. What's the most you can get out of this squad, Sam? You know, because you look at the talent that's in the academy, it's not like we're struggling, is it? Like, you've got quite a few talented players there, but they have to come into the right setup equally as well, don't they?
Yeah, well, he's apparently that I follow that academy scoop on Twitter and stuff. They're training 3-4-3 or back five, whatever you want to fucking call it. They're training that system in the academy now. So they're then getting easier transition if they do come up to the first team. Obviously, they've got plans for Ciro Martin and Sekou Kone and Samuel Lascelles. So you'd think if next year they might be ready, then they're already familiar with the system, so they can come straight in and have an impact. That would be the idea. I think there's a lot of this squad I don't think are up to it. I've spoken about this several times. I think you need to get rid of a lot of them. When I think about it, there's maybe only like 6-7 players that I would probably be like, I'll keep them, and then the rest of them I couldn't be at. Like, if they went, it would not bother me at all. I think that's the state we're at. Like, I think it's serious. Like, every year we say we need an overhaul, but we never really do it, do we? We never really do it, and I think it needs to happen. Like, there's too many players here who are just not good enough and just not going to work. So I think a complete overhaul is needed.
Yeah, I'd be interested to really pick his brain about the squad to see what he actually thinks. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of kind of political answers in there that are thrown out there.
He's never going to say in public who he thinks not going to work, because he's got to work with him for the rest of the season. Like, he's not going to get rid of him before summer, so he's going to have to work with him. So he's never going to say this guy goes publicly, unfortunately, as much as we'd like it to be.
And a lot of it's going to be decided on injuries as well, innit? Who can stay fit, who's available. Malacia actually sat alongside Amorim in the press conference today, which usually tells you that he's going to start. And we had the breaking news that he will start against Viktoria Plzen. What's your expectations for him for the rest of the season?
Get as many minutes under his belt as possible. Hopefully avoid any injury this season, like stay injury free. Put in some good performances. Sort of assist the team as and when he can, like filling in at left wing back, which is probably going to be his position, I imagine, tomorrow. So, yeah, just get many minutes, improve your performances, and contribute to the team. That's what I would want to see this season. I don't think you can expect too much from a guy who's not played in 18 months and has got a total of 100 minutes, 200 minutes of football under his belt this season. Like, I don't think you can expect too much from him. So I think, yeah, improving performances, contribute to the team and stay fit. That's what I'd expect from him in this season.
It's weird, isn't it? 'Cause how do you assess that with the left back situation? Do they just see him straight off the bat as he's going to be a second choice wing back, and then we bring in an Alphonso Davies? Will he be happy with that? I mean, to be fair, he's probably just happy to play football in general, isn't he? So, maybe it's not as difficult situation.
Even if he doesn't stay, it puts him in the shop window, doesn't it? If he's playing all these minutes, like he's going to play the season if he stays fit. I imagine he's going to get some game time because he already has. So even if like at the end of the season, Ruben Amorim goes, yeah, he's not good enough. He's put himself in the shop window and he'll get a move somewhere, won't he? Because he's not an awful left back. Like, he's a good left back. So he'll get a move somewhere. So either way, it's positive for Tyrell Malacia to play football, isn't it?
Well, let's see what the chat is saying. We've got James, Steph, Jarley, Raja, loads of yous in the chat, so it's nice to see so many people. Please do smash like on the video. James saying, evening all. Big up Sam and Nick from Steph. All good until United play. Rashford can go for 40 million, the high wages, I guess. We'll talk about Marcus Rashford very shortly, because I want to get Sam's thoughts on that. Rajat going early saying, keep Dallo. Ten Hag got the best out of this team, or most out of this team in his first season. I doubt we'll get any further along than what we have right here. That's interesting. So-called experienced players continue to be inconsistent. When will Man United rebuild? Getting tired of rebuilding 5-10 times. Aren't we all?
We haven't rebuilt though, have we? We've not rebuilt because the players that we've been saying for ages need to go. Stay. Like, Martial was here for 9 years. Luke Shaw, I've been saying for 2 seasons, needs to go. He's still here. Like, we've not done a rebuild.
It's weird because I think about the summer. Was it when Ragnick's interim just finished? And we had Cavani, Mata, Lingard, Pogba. We had loads of players. I think we were like 10 players, and we was like, okay, that's the clearance that we needed. And it was like, but wait, we still got Martial here. We still got Rashford. Like, we still had a load of players here. So I do think there is a core group of players that I'm looking at the moment, and I'm like, I think you might need to get rid of him. Yeah. I think you might need to. Shaw, maybe Dallo you can throw in there. Rashford you can throw in there. There's a few, man. There's a few. Lindelof, like loads.
There's one. The only ones I would sort of keep, and it's probably the young ones, like Ahmad, Kobe, Mazraoui, Yoro, Onana, Hoyland,
Delete. Apart from that, it's like
struggling. Apart from that, like, I'm struggling. Everybody else,
and even then, those kind of players, there's only a couple I would say will probably get into like top 4. Teams. You're always going to be a progression, so that's going to be a development. We understand that. But someone like Mazraoui, let's say, would probably get in the majority of teams.
Ugarte. I keep
Ugarte for sure as well. Then others, it's like I thought Onana. I was like, right, he's having a really good season, and then I look at the goal he conceded, and I'm like, oh, I thought this was past us. I thought this was last year, and we're done. And I was straight that shot. I mean, you was in the stadium for it. The shot was just straight at him, and he let it. If you're a Premier League goalkeeper, you can't be allowing that.
Until I watched the replay, I didn't understand. It was like, did it take a deflection on the way in? Because I was like, there's no way he's not saving this. Like, something must have happened. And when I watched the replay when I got home, I was like, no, it's just straight at him, and he just completely flubbed it. I was like, fucking hell, that was terrible. But then you sort of got players like who are really on their day are really good. Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, fantastic players on the day, but just cannot stay fit.
Mount's another one.
How long do you accommodate them for? How long does that go on before you go, look, you lads need to go? Like, you never fit, so there's no point.
No, I get it. I don't think there should be any favoritism at all. Everyone has their own kind of individual players that they like, but I'm with the same thing. If Mount it keeps being inconsistent and doesn't kick on, it's like, fine, maybe you can get money for these kind of players still. And reinvest it smartly. And I think that's something that Jason Wilcox is definitely going to do. And he seems to be having his kind of prints on a lot of stuff now in terms of transfers. We know he was heavily involved in the Ugarte thing, for example, because Ten Hag was against it. Wilcox was like,
He showed him videos they need to convince him. And
Yeah, he was like, I think this guy, and obviously he's adapting very well, and he
Yep.
seems like the part, and he's quite a young player. So you would like to think, okay, we've got a bit of trust in Wilcox now. That's fine. The Paraguayan player we were going to touch on near the end, Wilcox, that's something to do with him as well. So he's stepping up into Dan Ashworth's role for the January transfer window as well, and he's now the point of contact for the scouting department on any recruitment matters. So yeah, I mean the news that was coming out the past couple of days, Sam, was maybe they might not bring in a sporting director. They might either just abandon the role completely or promote from within, and Wilcox has got it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like he's done the job at Southampton, obviously a different level to Manchester United. He was academy head at City, so he was responsible for bringing through players like Cole Palmer, like Phil Foden, Rico Lewis, those kind of guys. He was responsible for their development, getting them into the academies and stuff like that. So he clearly can identify talent and nurture it and bring it through. Like we can agree, Cole Palmer is probably one of the best players in the league right now. Like phenomenal player. Phil Foden on his day is a fantastic player. He's struggling a bit last year or so, but I think on his day he's an absolutely phenomenal player. So he's got an eye for talent, I think. So I think he will do well in that role, especially if we're going down this route of like young, unknown sort of players that we can develop and turn into stars, which that seems to be the way. Like we've sort of got Lenny Yoro, who's obviously going to be something big, hopefully. This Paraguayan kid. Sekou Kone, Chidi Obi Martin, that kind of stuff. But that's the route we seem to be going down. So that's a really interesting sort of concept. We're obviously like starting from a different way rather than just going after superstars and players who come for massive wages and don't really work.
I like all these players, and I think they're huge talents. But they've got to come into the right environment, haven't they? They've got to come into and who are the players who are taking them under the wing? Gary Neville always references when he came in about Pallister and Steve Bruce and Schmeichel and all these big personalities who, if they're fucking up in training, they'd give them a kick and they'd say, "Listen, sort your shit out, or you're never ever going to break into this team." I don't know who those characters are in the team, so it's like you almost need to buy experience as well to bring them in, because who are the leaders in that team?
I think you need to be smart with it. I think Mazraoui is a very smart buy in terms of this experienced player. Like you got him for 15 million. How old is he? 27? 26? Yeah, so he's not majorly old in football terms. He's in his prime. You got him for a good price, and he's been absolutely flawless for the most part when he's come in. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. If you want to bring an experienced player in, smart buy, probably not on massive wages. Price was good, and he's coming in being absolutely essential to us. That's what I want to see. If we're going to get experienced players, they have to work within the team. I don't want to see us go after like a Cavani and people like that, where it's like you get a year out of him, and then after that, he's fucking done. So the Mazraoui model, I like that. A 25 to 27-year-old experienced player who's been around, and you get him for a good price. Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, I'm sure all teams would take that. If you get the level of ability of Mazraoui for 15 million in each position, I mean, you'd be sorted for a bit, aren't you? There's obviously a lot of noise around Marcus Rashford at the moment, who's considered an experienced player, Sam, and is the oldest, most senior player in that attacking line, but obviously isn't the kind of player who youngsters look up to. I don't know if that's harsh, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't think he is that kind of character. And the noise that's being made coming out from Chris Wheeler and a couple of other journalists around the club that offers, United would consider offers for around £40 million. Is that about right?
Seems far too low for my opinion.
I think 60 to 70 is what I said initially.
Yeah, that's where I would put
but his wages have to be taken into consideration.
That is the issue. That is the issue with trying to get him off the books. Is his wages are a massive problem, and you thought we would have learned this lesson, because you remember all the time we were trying to get rid of people like Phil Jones and stuff like that. You just couldn't, because you're on ridiculous wages. And this is kind of the last hangover, isn't it? Because he was offered that contract before the sort of Ineos people came in after that. He was on the back of that really good season that he had. So yeah, that's an issue. So in terms of I think he doesn't look happy at United. He just doesn't look happy, doesn't look interested. Apparently he's got distractions away from football. I don't know that. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak on that. but he just doesn't look happy at United or interested. I think his career would be better served, and he'd be happier playing elsewhere, and he'd probably make a bigger impact elsewhere for me personally than at United and under the absolute spotlight that seems to be when he plays for United.
I feel like everyone's on that same wavelength now, though. Like a few years ago, obviously after the season with Ten Hag, people were like, he's finally kicking into gear. This is it now. You know, give him another season, he'll do it. That season, 4 goals, 2 assists, whatever it is. And everyone's like, oh, fucking hell. So everyone's got to a point where it's like, when are we all going to kind of come to the conclusion that it's not going to fully work out? When he's 30? Are you going to wait till he's 30 years old? And then we're going to say, oh, actually, maybe we were wrong.
It's Jesse Lingard, isn't it? How long were we waiting for Jesse Lingard? It's like, no, it's a good player, this. He's going to come good. He's going to come good. And he never did. And there's some moments from Jesse Lingard that I'll remember, like the FA Cup semi-final, that goal. Like, I'll remember that always. Rashford, the penalty in Paris, I'll always remember that goal. Like, the goal against City last year, even though we lost. Fantastic goal.
Rocket. Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, he's far more talented than Lingard as well.
But he's not consistent. He can't put it together. He just cannot put a run together, like, more than one season. Like, he had the NHS season where him, Mason Greenwood, all that, fantastic. And then the next season just dropped off, didn't he? Again. And then and then he had another good season, and then he drops off again. Like, if you're gonna be a top player, can't do that. You have to have consistent seasons. Look at Mo Salah. When have you seen him drop off ever? Never, because he's world class. Like, Rashford just isn't in that bracket for me, and I think he's had enough chances at United, and he needs to sort of move on for his sake as well, for his career.
Yeah, I agree. James McGogan saying, rumour has it Ineos are planning to build the new medical facilities around Shaw and Mason Mount. Fair enough. Get Locatelli, that's from Raja. We really need to Gyökeres play with Højlund next season. Sim saying, hi, Steph again. Rashford 20 million if we can get it. Jesus Christ. You're going to get way more.
Not a fucking bargain, mate. Like, come on.
I know.
An England international, one of United's top goal scorers. Like, come on, not 20 million.
Yeah. He's worth twice that Sim. Yeah, he is. He's at least 40 million, at least minimum. And look, like I said, he is Marcus Rashford. You listen to any player. Ahmad did an interview recently where he was like, he's one of the best players I've played with. Yeah. So he's obviously got the ability to attack, and that's why Ten Hag was so stubborn in picking him week in, week out, because he's seeing these things.
He was hoping, that one match was going to click.
Yeah, and obviously done it for him for a season. He's got 30 goals in one season, which that's not an average player. He is extremely talented, but application has to come in with that.
Attitude,
it has to come in with that.
Mentality.
Attitude as well. Yeah, like I remember listening to Enzo Maresca the other day, and I think he's quite refreshing when he's talking about these young players. And I think he was sort of going on about Noni Madueke, and he was like, he seems to be just, if he has a good game and scores, he'll seem to be settled with that and happy. And it's like, and then he's on top of the world. Then he's like, look, I've had a decent game. I've got an assist. They don't formulate in the head that it's like, we need to do this week in, week out. Like, this is what football's about. You don't
have to maintain your level. Like,
you have to maintain it. That's what the greats do. That's the difference.
Well, you look at Cole Palmer, like, he's just consistently good, and he doesn't seem arsed about it either, does he? He's just like, I go out and I play, and that's it. And that's the mentality you need. You just really like, I'm just going to concentrate on my game. I'm going to go out there, play as best as I can, and that's it every game. And it just seems like Rashford's got too much going on in his head all the time. It just seems like there's something going on where he's just not 100% focused on the game. And when you're not 100% focused in the Premier League, you look 10 times worse than you actually are. And I think it's showing him with Marcus Rashford.
I think advice in general in life, I can't remember what actor it was who said it. I think it might have been Tom Hanks, and he said, like, never get too high. You know, when things are going really good, stay level. When things are going really bad, stay level. That is the best advice you can offer to anyone. And I would say it to Marcus, but he's that deep into his career now. I don't think you can take that out of a player, personally. Really don't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Loads is in the chat. Smash that like button. There's only 11 likes and there's 37 people in the chat. So come on, people. Get hitting that like button. We've got other bits of news to discuss. And hit that subscribe button as well, because we're on the road to 10k. We're getting closer to 9,000. What are we on at the moment, Sam?
I've not got the thing on it.
I know, I can't see it. Oh, I've got it here. No, I've not actually. I don't know what we're on at the minute. We're near 9k. That's as much as I know anyway. So Yeah. Hit that subscribe. Hit that subscribe. I think 70% of people who watch haven't subscribed yet. So if you are one of them people behind the keyboard, laptop, tablet, whatever it is, make sure you do it.
8,909.
909. Okay, so 91 off 9K, and then the road to 10K really can begin. We can get it down to triple figures, and we can start discussing it. Yeah, right. There's one more quote from the presser that I want to touch on from Malacia and Amorim saying, of course, there's a lot of changing, but what I like and what I know from this manager is that he's very clear for all of us. So that's the most important. So we know what we have to do in the game, clear instructions. I think we are starting to see a bit of a premise now, aren't we, Sam, in terms of like in-game. You can see a bit of a blueprint, which is, it's not everything, but it's something to hold on to at the moment, isn't it? Because under Ten Hag, there was just consistent question marks.
Yeah, and you can see he makes immediate changes during the game as well, which was another thing Ten Hag didn't do. Like, you'll see in games where it's like, all right, this player's not working, or this thing is not working, and he'll take players off. Multiple substitutions early, like 55 minutes, he'll bring it in and just be like, boom, let's get it sorted and do it. Whereas Ten Hag would just stick with it, would he, until like 80 minutes. You're like, for fuck's sake, will you just change something? Do something. And then he just bring on like a random player, and you just like, how is that changing anything? Like, it was bizarre at times, like the substitutions Ten Hag. So I like that he makes stuff in game. I like that he's rotating quite a lot to manage loads and sort of give people opportunities and chances and stuff like that. Everybody's got a clean slate, so none of them could be at the end of the season. None of those players can come back and go, oh, I didn't get given a shot. I didn't get given an opportunity. Every single player is getting given an opportunity so far, and if you don't perform, then hopefully you're out the door. Like, hopefully that's the way it's going to be.
And despite what the sporting fans might tell you, he isn't God.
No.
He's a very, very good manager, but he can't work miracles. And this current crop of players that he's got at the minute, you need changes. You need to bring in certain profiles. And this is where it leads into a youngster who's been linked with Sam, Diego Leon. Apparently now there's a verbal agreement for him to be a new Manchester United player. The transfer fee will be close to £3.9 million plus bonuses, and Leon will sign a long-term contract at United and arrive in June 2025 because he's still 17, turns 18 in April, so he'll be able to join officially in June. These are the kind of things we've been speaking about, right, for a long time. This is something that Brighton would do, for example. This is the Casado boat, potentially, that we missed.
Yeah, like how long have me and Chivy and you been talking about, let's get young players from South America. Let's exploit that market that City seems to do so well, that Brighton seems to do so well. They find these gems of talent. Like, look at Julian Alvarez. They pinched him for, what, 20 million, 15 million or something from South America. And then they've just sold him to Atletico, and he's tearing it up at Atletico. And they sold him for 90 million, 80 million, something like that. Like, I don't see what the risk is. You go out there and you buy a player like this for 3 million. Even if he doesn't hit the heights of like the best player like you've ever seen at United, you could still sell him on for a 30, 40 million price. That's like 100 times, 10 times profit. Like, why would you not do that? Like, I don't understand what the risk is. It's 3 million to pay for him, and you'll definitely get a profit out of him unless he absolutely shits the bed, which I doubt it. So I don't understand it. And even if he does, he does work out, he ends up becoming one of your best left backs, and you've got him at a young age, and he'd be there for years. So yeah, we need to exploit this market. We need to be like Sekou Kone was another one we found in. Is it South Africa? Are we going? Where did we get?
No, it was Mali. Yeah.
Like, go to these countries where these gems that are playing in leagues that nobody watches, and you can pick them up for peanuts, get them for nothing, and you can mold them into the talent that you want and build him into a better player. Like Matoma, how much did Brighton play for Matoma? Like a couple $100 grand? Is it $1 million?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Brighton do this every fucking year. Every year a player comes on, you're like, who the fuck's this? And he turns out to be a superstar. What's that guy, Belieber, at the minute they've got?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where did he come from? Like, who the fuck's he? And he just comes in and he just storms it. It's like, how are we not doing this? How are we not finding these players and just bringing them in, and then just like, we need to be doing it, and I'm glad this is a step in the right direction.
I think that's the one thing they're starting to get right in it. The youngsters and the talent that they're looking at. The South American market's been there forever. Yep. Like McAllister was 10 million, I think Brighton bought him for. You know what I mean? And look at him now. He's one of the best midfielders, at least in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
McAllister's unbelievable.
Very good.
I
Very
really,
good
really
player.
like him as a player. Casado, South American talent. Enzo Fernandez, say whatever you want about him, but, you know, Benfica picked him up for about 10 million, I think it was.
That's another team, Benfica. They identify these South American talents very early, and they grab hold of him, and then they sell them on for a massive fee. Like, everything, We need to be getting there before Benfica do, before Brighton do. Yeah. That's what United needs to be doing.
You look at wing backs. I mean, Brighton, Estepinian, left back at Brighton. He's Ecuadorian, I think.
Yeah.
We've had South America. I was touching on this in the afternoon show. We've had loads of South American ones. Valencia from Ecuador, Fabio, Rafael, Gabriel Hines. There's been loads. So get your network set up there. City have done it for ages. They did it with Edison, Gabriel Jesus, Fernandinho, all these guys who will go down in City's books as legends for them. Yeah. And obviously have been hugely important players. We need to start doing this stuff. 100%.
And we should do. We're the biggest club in the world. How do we not have the biggest scouting network and the best scouting network in the world? How? Yeah. Like, it is
mad, isn't it? It is mad. And even if they're not ready for first team football, loan them to a parent club. Yeah,
loan them somewhere.
You know, Nice or Lausanne, I don't know how that would work specifically, if you can do that. But go and do that. Get them ready for first team. Loan out to Championship. Do what you need to do. But if you have a hold of those players, it's what Chelsea do really, really well. Yeah. Like, they have a lot of players, but they will loan them out and they'll still get fees for them. And in this kind of PSR climate that you're in at the minute, it's not the worst idea, is it? No,
but look at Ahmad. He went to Sunderland, had an absolutely fantastic season, and now he's in the first team and he's one of our best players. Like, that's literally how it works. You go on the play, they have a great season, they come back to the first team and they make their way in. Like, it's bizarre to me. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, our scouting's been pretty shit for a long time on it, I think. I mean, it's not necessarily our scouting if you read deeper into it.
It's the people taking the scout reports and then deciding, we're not going to bother.
We like this kid here from Ecuador. It's called Moises Casado. £5 million is gone. Don't like that one. No, put it on my desk. You know what I mean?
Andy Mitten told the story at the Talk of the Devil show I went to that we were bidding for Benjamin Sesko when he was at... Where's he from? Is he Slovakian?
He's from Slovenia, I think it is.
Slovenia.
He's from.
So whatever club he was playing at in Slovenia before he went to Salzburg and before he went to Leipzig, we were in for him, and they were like, "Yeah, it's 1.5 million. Like, that's how much he is." And we were like, "We'll give you 1.1." They went, "No, it's 1.5." It's like, "What about 1.2?" And then by the time we were fucking around and dicking about with it, Salzburg came in and paid the fee and took him. And now he's worth what? 60, 70 million?
Yeah, he's
you know what I mean?
He's just signed a new contract as well, isn't he?
Fucking idiots. We're just so stupid. It's like, just pay the 1.5, man. Like, don't get it. Really don't get it.
On reflection now, look, sometimes it won't work out.
No.
I'd much rather lose out on a talent like that than lose out on 80 million quid on a player like Anthony.
Yes. Pay 1.5 and it doesn't work. You'll probably still make a profit on that player when you resell him. Anthony, pay 80 million, it doesn't work. You're fucked. Yeah,
I still find it crazy that we spent that amount of money on him. I find it
Ajax must have had a fucking party for weeks after that.
85 million quid for him. It's not even like his output was warranting it. I mean, if you look at his output in the Eredivisie before we bought him, how that got to 8, I feel like we weren't even outraged.
They were taking the piss. They were taking the piss, weren't they, Ajax? They were just like, keep adding numbers. Just see how far they could go. Yeah. Like, just keep giving them stupid numbers. And then they got to 85 million. They went, I can't believe they're going to pay it. Like, I can't believe they're going to pay this. It's mental.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, some of the business that we've done. And we're still paying for it now. This is why it's such a hangover. I mean, Ineos coming in and doing what they're doing, cancelling shit is literally making probably 0.01% to the debt that the Glazers have left us in.
Scout the Championship. How many good players have come out of the Championship?
Yeah,
Madison, Jokeres was playing for Coventry, and now he's gone to stop. Yeah. Like, scout the Championship. There's good players there. Like, it's mad to me. There's a guy in the chat called Kobe Mainu.
Is there? Where? Oh yeah, when's the press? Yeah. The press. We touched on the press conference. Amorim spoken about Dan Ashworth and the situation there. Malacia had spoken about Ruben Amorim and his thoughts on the coach so far. They're the quotes that have come out. There's been other little bits as well that we've touched on. But if you want to listen to the kind of the reaction for that, that's at the start of the show. Yep. We are pretty much at the end of the show now, so apologies for that. But yeah, you can just scroll back and check that out. I'm going to read the last few comments out. Unless anyone for the last 5 minutes, if you've got any questions you want to chuck in, anything you want to debate, anything that you want to get off your chest, now is your time. Go for it. Next 2 minutes. Whilst I read out some comments. Didn't Ralph say Alvarez was available of Argentina? Yep. 10 to 12 million. Correct. Arrival of Leon. Does that mean Amas going out on loan? We haven't seen Amas, have we, at all?
He played.
Do you think that's him taking his time?
Yeah.
Maybe.
He played for the under-19s yesterday, I think. He was part of that team, so I think maybe because Ten Hag was saying he's not physically ready, didn't he? Like for the Premier League, so maybe they're waiting for him to bulk up a bit or like fill out his frame because he's still young and he's 17. So yeah. We've got time. Yeah.
James saying we missed out on Elise, bloody Anthony.
Yeah.
Well, that situation at the time with Lisa, I was like, I think we've got enough talented wingers and youngsters to move forward. I was right about Ahmad, but now with this system change, I don't know if Garnacho necessarily fits into it. You need a certain profile in there, I think.
I think Garnacho's got an attitude problem as well. I think his attitude is really bad.
Have you seen all the stuff?
Yeah, he's like, his brother's out. He's leaking team news and shit, isn't he? He's like,
apparently.
But he liked another tweet criticizing some of the players, didn't he? Is it on Sunday? I think he liked a tweet and he claimed it was an accident, but he's done this like 3 or 4 times now at this point. I'm like, it's an accident 1 time, 3 times, it's not an accident. So I think that needs to be looked at for sure.
And as well, every time, so when he gets taken off, even if he's had a shit game, he's sat there shaking his head.
Yeah.
Like he's entitled to be on the pitch, even if he's playing shit. And that is, you need to be like, I don't mind confidence and a little bit of arrogance, a sprinkle of arrogance.
Yeah.
That's okay, you need that in a football player. But to be like that when you're 20, that's getting a little bit ahead of yourself. Even though how shit United are at the moment.
He sees himself as Ronaldo, but he hasn't done anything to warrant that title. Like, you need to do something to warrant that.
The reputation of Ronaldo. But a very raw ability at the minute that isn't even close to that.
His decision-making is fucking abysmal as well. Like, that needs to be sorted out. Like, that could be worked on. Attitude is a very difficult thing to sort of shift and change. Ability and skills can be changed.
Yeah. Question, will Shea Lacey get game time this season or next year? That's from Stephanie Griffith. What do you reckon?
Probably next year because he had shoulder surgery in the summer. I don't even... Has he played for the under-19s this year?
I don't know, because he's not just had one injury. I'm sure it's been like setback.
Yeah,
setbacks he's had. So
you probably won't see him this season. I'd imagine.
No,
I think
pre-season is mega for Amorim and the youngsters.
I think that Goodwill, Kokoni, and is it Fitzgerald? Those are the 2 that Amorim's brought in so far and put them on the bench and stuff. They've not got any minutes yet, but they seem to be the 2 that Amorim's looking at.
The centre back, I think, definitely has been a lot being pushed by him. Kokoni at the minute. He seems like a decent player, so keep an eye out for him. But yeah, I think for Amorim to really get an assessment, he ain't seen these players week in, week out.
No.
You can only really see him, in pre-season. So for youngsters, I don't think he'll chance it much in this season. I might be wrong.
He needs to get results, doesn't he? He needs to get results this season. That's what he needs to get.
Yeah. I mean, you still got youngsters that you're playing, Garnacho, Kobe, Yoro, but these are ready to go now.
Yoro's an experienced player, isn't he? He played 2 seasons with Lille, so he's an experienced player.
In the Champions League as well, so it's crazy to think the amount of experience he's got for such a young kid. But anyway, I think we're going to leave it there, people. Appreciate so many of you joining. It's been really, really nice to have a chat. Been through loads of stuff, spoken about Wilcox stepping up into Dan Ashworth's role. We've covered Ruben Amorim's press conference, spoke about Marcus Rashford, and we spoke about Diego Leon as well, which is news just been announced today. So got a lot of stuff off our chest. Enjoyed this show. We'll be back tomorrow with a 12 o'clock show, and obviously United kick off at 5:45 tomorrow. Don't forget that, people. So we'll have the pre-match and the post-match reaction all around that game against the mighty Viktoria Plzen in the Czech Republic. So,
mind you, though, because it's an early kickoff, when we do the review, it's still going to be a regular time, like a nice time. It's not going to be 11 o'clock at night, and I'm fucking trying to get for a shower before bed.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
It's a great point. So, hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow, 12 o'clock. Come and join me. See you in a bit.